Turner Network Television proudly presents the 1986 Goodwill Games from Moscow and from Madrid. Brought to you by Diet Pepsi, the one-calorie choice of a new generation. And by Bud Light, the light beer with the first name and taste. Everything else is just a light.
And by CNN, the world's most important network and a proud sponsor of the Goodwill Games.
And now, here is the host of the 1986 Goodwill Games. From Moscow, Bob Neal.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our late-night coverage of the Goodwill Games of 1986. In water polo, on our prime time program, the United States men tied Hungary, surprising them, kind of putting their backs to the wall. They're going to have to go all the way in that round-robin tournament, winning against the Soviet Union Sunday if they want to get the gold. The wrestlers also tied in their opening bout, and that puts them in a bind because the Soviets won big in wrestling, and the U.S. women volleyball team lost today to the Soviet Union, but we're going to have highlights from a very exciting match between Japan and Peru coming up a little later, along with some other things, Marianne.
That's right, Bob. For late night tonight, we will see more women's volleyball with that exciting match. Also, 84 cycling gold medalist Mark Gorski, some red-hot boxing bouts, an edition of My Moscow from Stu Lurie, and much, much more. We hope you stay with us for this hour.
And our special guest is Peggy Fleming. I can't wait. Hope you can either. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Peggy Fleming has joined us in our studio. We're live from Moscow, and Peggy Fleming will be joining Kurt Gowdy on our telecast of the figure skating exhibition segment of our Goodwill Games. Of course, Peggy's very well known for many things, now your television work, but the '68 Olympics in Grenoble with the gold medal. Welcome to Moscow.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
How long have you been here since you just got into town? A couple days?
I have just been here a couple of days trying to adjust to the time, but
what time is your body on right now? Could you pick a time?
I don't know. It's sort of on something, but I think I'm adjusting, and you have to, I think, kind of just jump right in and just be there. You can't keep, you know, evaluating, well, what time is it at home right now? So I feel pretty good.
I've decided to put myself on Eastern Standard Time. That's the only thing I can live with, and it's working okay for me.
Whatever works.
Whatever works is all right. You're going to be covering the figure skating exhibition with Kurt Gowdy.
Right.
And before we get into talking about that, well, as a matter of fact, we'll continue talking about it. Let's look at some videotape of some of the skaters. This is courtesy CBS and from a telecast, and you're going to see some of the skaters who will be appearing here in Moscow that Kurt Gowdy and Peggy Fleming will be talking about. Debbie Thomas.
Yes, this is our world champion. She is a very strong, dynamic skater, and this is our other world champion, Brian Bottano, who is very, very consistent and puts on a real good show, so I think we're going to see some fun skating here.
And some Soviet pairs? And
the Soviet dance team, Besyuminova and Bukin, and they are very dramatic, and I think they're going to put on just a fantastic show. They are incredibly expressive and do very difficult, very quick moves. That's what dance skating is all about, is not necessarily all the jumps and real dynamic things, but it's very interesting in the choreography, and the steps are very difficult.
Let me go right to a technical question again. I know a lot of viewers ask it. I've asked it 15 times watching championship skating. Talk about the technical difference, the primary one between pairs and dance, what the judges look at.
Well, the dance is they can't do any jumps or spins or things like that. They can do that within, you know, choreography. So they have to kind of, you know, stay put on the ice. They can't do things too acrobatic. And the pairs are a little mixture of single skating and doing lifts and throws and things like that.
More acrobatic, more gymnastic.
Yeah. And it's dangerous in some respects. I mean, they've had some pretty bad injuries over the years in pair skating. I don't think I would do it, but I would probably, if I could do it over again, I'd probably be a dancer.
Do you still skate much?
Yes. I participated in Liberty Weekend and performed there in the Meadowlands and at Byrne Arena and had a real good time. I don't do that very much anymore, but I think it's kind of good for you just to feel like yourself again and get out and practice and stretch out. And I do enjoy it. I don't like to do it on a real regular basis of going on long tours anymore, but I still love to skate, and I love to be involved in how our sport keeps changing. I think in the amateur world of skating, things have been progressing. We're starting to do, you know, quadruple jumps that the men are. The women aren't attempting that
The women
yet.
are getting stronger, too, like Debbie Thomas, for instance.
Oh, all the triple jumps the girls are doing. In my day, I wasn't doing any triples.
Why the difference in your day? You were obviously a wonderful champion, 5-time national champion, too. But why would you say that it's progressed that much? Is it the technique or the training or what?
Well, it's the technique of the coaching. It's the technique of the equipment and all of those things. And I think that peer pressure, when somebody else does something more difficult, then it makes it seem more acceptable for other people to try it too.
We say that the figure skating at the Goodwill Games is going to be an exhibition instead of a competition. Explain briefly what it means, and is that good or bad for viewers?
Well, I think it's going to be very entertaining. I think they can sit back and relax and see athletes having fun with their sport. That's not saying that they're not going to be doing some of their difficult tricks of triples and the difficult spins. They're going to be still doing that because they're effective. I mean, I think they add a lot of excitement and dramatics to a program, and they're going to be doing a more flashy, showy program, and it will be relaxing to sit and watch because they're not going to get marks. They're just going to go out and have fun and really show the audience what skating is about.
Have you heard any responses, and what has the response been from your travels being in the United States over the 4th and now into the Goodwill Games about the Goodwill Games developing and get underway? People talking about it in the States? We've been here in Moscow, of course.
Well, everybody's excited about it. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to have another showcase, to have athletes compete together. And I know from my own relationship with my sport, you get so isolated in your small world of like skating or you know, gymnastics, and you come to an event like this where you see other competitions going on, and you get inspired by watching some of the other events. Since I've been here, I've seen women's diving, and I've seen rhythmic gymnastics, which I think...
What a sport. I fell in love with it.
It's so gorgeous, and I think, gosh, why can't we do more of that for maybe skating? And I get inspired to, you know, pick up little things from other sports and
be tough with the ribbons, maybe. I'm skating.
Well, I did a number at Liberty Weekend with some fabric with about 2.5 yards of chiffon. And so, like, I tried to pretend I was a rhythmic gymnastics person.
I get an opportunity to see Peggy Fleming skating like that, and here I am in Moscow.
I know, it's all fantasy for
I missed
me.
it. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get it next time around. I hope so. Peggy, will you stay with us for our program?
Sure.
We've got an hour to go here, and we have a lot to cover, including women's volleyball. And we'll come up with that in a moment as we continue with the Goodwill Games from Moscow. Women's volleyball into medal round play now. It's taking place at at Lennon Central Stadium, which is out on the southwest part of town, out near the large Lennon Central Stadium, just near Gorky Park. It's called the Small Arena, the location. USA lost to the Soviet Union today 3-1, so Japan and Peru are playing for the right to meet the USSR for the gold medal. We're going to join that game in progress now. Japan was leading 2-1 in the 4th game. Peru, however, was leading in game 4, 11-10. Let's pick up the action.
Japan and Peru back on the volleyball court here at Lennon Central Stadium, smaller arena. This is our 4th game, and Peru holds a 1-point lead over Japan, but Japan has the service. And what a comeback it's been for the Japanese team again. We're going to call illegal hit. I again disagree.
Called the lift, but Hiro felt she had her hands in the right setting position.
Right into a block and back in her face, but it went out of bounds, so Japan will get a side out. Serving 11. miscommunication in the backcourt. Side out for Peru. And the crowd tries to get something going.
Well, not only miscommunication, but everybody was staying back so deep they forgot to move up, and Tate took something off that hit.
Otani. Fajardo sends one off the block and out of bounds, and finally, for the first time in at least 10 or 15 minutes, Peru has scored a point, 12-10. Off the block, still in play. Coming over free. Point, 13-10. And Japan elects to call a timeout because if Japan can win this game, they win the match. Peru trailing by 3 points. I'm sorry, Peru leading by 3 points. Japan trailing by 3 points. But Peru is down in game. So if Peru wins this game, we will be even and going to a fifth and deciding game of this match.
Neither team has really looked sharp throughout this whole match.
Back set. Bounces off the net. Everything's still good. Tommy Alva hits one to the deep court. Oh. Out of bounds. That was a great rally.
It really was. If anybody looks the sharper of the team, it's probably Japan because they're able to hustle a little bit more.
10 serving 13. Substitution for Peru coming back in the game is Luisa Sierra. Point Japan.
That was a good fake by Peru. I thought that they were going to go to Perez, and Japan read it a lot better.
Still alive. Tommy Alva again. This time she dinks. They're ready. Still alive. And that's a real morale breaker. And now I predict Japan will win this game.
Now you predicted, huh?
Well, it could have gone either way, but I think that was going to break Peru's spine.
Well, that's the longest rally that they have had. And again, the stamina and the persistence of the kind of team that Japan has did pay off for them.
Side out for Peru. I may have to eat my words.
That was a tough block in the middle by Peru.
13 serving 12. Back set to Tommy Alva. Nice stop fight. Side out Japan.
And Noihiro with that little throw, dropping it right past the 10-foot mark.
Right into the center of nothing. Side out for Peru.
Malaga. I don't think that this was her intent, but it just spun off her hand a little bit. And she'll take it.
What a lucky miscue that was for the Japanese.
Hongo able to come back with her left hand, too. Otherwise, that ball would have flown right by her.
12 serving 13. Oh, lick your chops. This game is tied.
Perez, not one of the better passes for Peru. Still alive.
Umetsu goes down the line, off the block. 14-13 game and match point for Japan.
Umetsu has been strong on the outside for Japan, and Torrialvo right off that outside hand.
Oh, I'll tell you, if Peru loses this, I'll never have seen such consistent collapsing in my life. Substitution. Coming back in is Cecilia Tate for the front row. 13 serving 14. Umetsu into a block. They'll set up Gabriella. Nope, they go behind to Tate. It's good. Point for Peru. 14-14.
Nice back set. And that left hand, Tate able to get it right through. And these teams do play pretty even. I mean, they're constantly coming at each other. They're so competitive. They've played against each other so many times. And it's unfortunate. It's not unfortunate, but I really don't think that neither team is really playing up to par.
I agree. It's been the strangest volleyball game, and that sloppiness and fatigue have really played a part. 15-14 now. Peru is at game point, but not match point, because this would only be their second victory. They need to win 3 to take a match. Umetsu into a block. Game, Peru. So for the second time in this match, we have seen the scoreboard read 16-14. One time in favor of Peru, another time in favor of Japan. This match is tied at 2 games apiece. Against Peru, Japan trying to regroup after losing the 4th game, now trying to win the 5th so they can play for the gold medal. In this 5th and deciding game, the Japanese team trails by 4, makes that 5 points to Peru.
Peru came out in that first game, and they were leading 12-5 easily, and then all of a sudden Japan just came back, and Peru ended up winning at 15-9, but it was a struggle for Peru, so we'll see what Peru has in this 5th game.
Nice block by Peru. I don't think that one was ever over. Point for Peru. That spike just went straight into the net.
Well, Japan feels it went over, but from the angle we had, Leandra, it sure didn't look like it, and the officials didn't see it going over either.
6-0 Peru. Free ball.
And Nakata is down on the floor and can't get up.
We'll have an injury timeout called by Japan because this young lady has an injured hamstring. You can see her on the far side, right underneath our first referee, Haluk Sungay's stand. Nakata has a pulled hamstring, and it was plaguing her, and as Annie pointed out, between games, they were rubbing her down, trying to help her, but now I think she will be removed from the match.
I think something's got to be wrong with her back, too, Leandra, because they were really rubbing her back and trying to crack it. She's going to stay in the game. She's only 20 years old, but she's the captain of this team.
Peru's ahead, 7-0, 7 quick points.
Nakata really just can't move for anything right now.
She should be removed.
If Peru is smart like they were on that last play, they'll go right at her.
And there is some confusion here as to who got the point. Now, because this is the 5th game, we do change sides when we reach 8 points, and the Japanese team thought they would get the service. The Peru team thought they should get the service, and Peru wins this one. Peru will serve, and we are simply having the formality of changing sides halfway through the 5th and final game.
This has been the quickest series of points scored throughout this whole match.
I might have to say throughout these Goodwill games, I never saw so many points get on the scoreboard. So
That's
quick.
right.
Except maybe in basketball. Peru in white, Japan in red.
Japan looks a little confused as far as where the rotation is or who is where.
And they have every right to question what alignment they are in.
They want to make sure, otherwise a point will be taken away from them or a point added to the other team. The head official is saying go ahead and play. But there's got to be a language barrier there somewhere.
And now I think they're going to charge a timeout to Japan. That they are, because the Japanese team is confused about their order. And even though they are allowed to question where they're standing, you're right, I think it's a language problem that's prevailing here. So Japan forced to take a timeout, and that is unfortunate because it is their second timeout. And if things should get closer later on in the match, they're going to be out of luck.
And look at Nakata moving. She's going into the timeout huddle. She was really limping pretty bad. Now she's walking a little bit better, but she's stiff out there. She's not going to help them at all, especially if the pass is somewhere else on the court and she has to really hustle to get to it. And she makes a great play. They call her in the net, I guess. Jump ball.
They're going to replay
it. Ball was trapped up on top of the net.
8-0, Peru on top. We're even in games at 2 apiece. And that's just what Japan needed. Umetsu putting it away to get a side out.
Plus the leadership of Nakata with a nice set. Peru really has to keep the pressure on right here.
Naomi Masuko serving. That was a peculiar hit by Peru, and that in turn resulted in a peculiar return by Japan. Right out Peru.
It wasn't the greatest of passes, but they made do.
Umetsu puts it over.
Great block. Nakata and Umetsu. Nakata, even as much as she's hurting, she will not show the other team, and she plays tough. I mean, she's had a great set, come back with another good block.
Gabriela Perez off the block. Set out for Peru. Natalia Malaga serving for Peru. Perez setting. And reaching over against Peru. Side out for Japan.
And if you notice on those series of digs, Nakata never set the ball once.
Side out Peru. Gabriela Perez with the service. That means she's in the back court. That may open the door for Japan. Out of bounds, point for Peru.
Japan had a good fake going. Hiro just threw it out of bounds.
Nine serving 0. Otani. Still alive.
Yeah, tape was underneath the net.
Japan still trying to get on the scoreboard in this 5th game. 0-9. Into the block, and we finally have a point for Japan. 1-9. Service into the net.
And Nakata, that's her 3rd service there of the match. She's had a tough time serving.
Cecilia Tate with the service for Peru. Well, that was something they need. Again, it's Norihiro providing the honors. Substitution now for Japan. Coming in the game is Midori Matsuzawa. She will serve.
Peru has to keep the pressure on Japan.
Too much energy sitting on the bench. That one goes out.
2 service errors in a row. don't see Garcia hitting the ball too much.
Coming over free. Otani.
Ball never got over the net.
10-1.
The score is 10-1.
Denise Fajardo serving again. End of the net.
Those are the kind of errors you really don't want when you have that kind of lead. But Japan's staying tough. Even though Nakata really isn't moving as well, the hitters for Japan are staying right up there.
Nakata hurt again. She's sitting down on the floor. Slow to get up.
She's going, please don't hit it my way.
I question why the Japanese coach is keeping her out there. 2 serving 10.
Tough set.
That's why he's keeping her out there. Malaga. Still alive. Otani shovels it over free. Malaga lobs it. Umetsu.
Great rally.
Three serving 10. Gabriela Perez looking a little frustrated.
The longest rallies they've had, Japan has come out ahead on it. Dump shot by Rosa Garcia.
That's good. Side out Japan.
That play basically has worked for both teams because defensively they come up to the front court and that back court is left wide open.
Block is effective. Umetsu back into the block. Nakata sets it deep. Oh, it works.
Nobody in the back court. Tate had to hustle just to get her hands on it. And Nakata, another key play.
Perez sends it out of bounds, but it goes off the Japanese block, so it's side out for Peru.
Peru had not used Perez in quite a while.
They couldn't. Nice dink.
Замена в команде Японии.
Ongo seemed like she hung up there a little bit longer than Perez. Perez didn't even get up there off the ground.
And it's 10-4.
So Peru goes on to defeat Japan in that game 16-14. Peru wins 3 games to 2 after winning the 5th game 15-11. And Peru goes on into the gold medal round against the Soviet Union. That game should be a beauty. Soviet Union, a very powerful, mechanic-like team, but great athletic prowess. And the bronze medal game will be between Japan and the United States. And in just a moment, we'll come right back and visit Moscow with Stu Lurie.
Coming up, still to come on our Goodwill Games coverage, we'll have more cycling action for you. But right now, from time to time during his 3 years in Moscow as CNN's bureau chief, Stuart Lurie has filed many stories from Pushkin Square, a well-known gathering place for Muscovites. As Stuart Lurie will soon be taking up the post of CNN's Washington bureau chief, in this edition of My Moscow, he files his last report from Pushkin Square.
On a warm summer's evening, it's great fun to sit in Pushkin Square and watch the Soviet Union go by.
Like big city people everywhere, Muscovites are almost always in a hurry. Determination, the key expression on their faces. Things begin to slow down around Pushkin Square. The flower seller signals the change of pace, beckoning passers-by to stop and think for a while of beauty. Inside, the square is a kind of urban walled-in pond. Sit on a park bench and read a book. Spend some time with your grandson. Groom him, show him a little love. Wait primly for your boyfriend and perhaps pose a little bit, one red shoe off, the other on. Walk hand in hand through middle age. Check the contents of your string bag. The oranges and champagne there, promising a happy evening ahead. Show off your Western t-shirts. That's no U.S. Marine there. And he's certainly not a pirate. But she's a good ad for Rollo, whatever that is. Wait anxiously, roses in hand, for a friend. Where is she? Maybe even take a little nap. Why not? Izvestia, the government newspaper, is on Pushkin Square. And my friend Miller Strura is a political writer there. He well knows the beauties of the square.
I must say that I not only write political columns, I write poetry.
What kind of poetry do you write?
Well, of course, the main subject is love.
Alexander Pushkin, after whom the square was named, is this country's most revered poet. You don't have to understand the words to catch the beauty of Pushkin's language as Strura recites.
Я памятник воздвиг себе нерукотворный, к нему не зарастет народная тропа. Вознесся выше он главою непокорной Александрийского столпа.
Pushkin wrote of passion, which reminds me, let's look in on that anxious man with the roses again. Has he found her? He sure did.
They say that Pushkin himself was the soul of Russia. For me, Pushkin Square is the soul of the Soviet Union's capital. I'm Stuart Lurie. That's my Moscow.
Personal thanks to Stuart Lurie. He helped rescue me from the intricate and complicated subway system here in Moscow. It's beautiful, but you better know where you're going and how to use the trains. It's time for our ever popular and one of our favorite segments of the program. We call it Goodwill Highlights. And the question is, let's see if you've been watching as carefully as you're supposed to. The first woman to set a new world record in the Goodwill Games was... And we'll tell you who it was when we return. Stay with us. Okay, our question once again, and if you get this right, you get to watch the rest of this hour. If you don't, you can still watch anyway. The first woman to set a new world record in the Goodwill Games was, from the United States, Jackie Joyner in the heptathlon, who accomplished a lifelong goal and broke the magic 7,000-point barrier in the heptathlon. What a stirring performance by Jackie Joyner. Much like so many stirring performances by Peggy Fleming, who's sticking around with us for this whole hour. Peggy, the figure skating we were talking about earlier is Tuesday and Wednesday. Tell us a little bit about the kind of programming people are going to expect.
Well, they're going to have 2 days of skating, of exhibition, and all the participants that are in the Goodwill Games exhibition will be skating both of those nights.
I understand there's going to be some kind of group skating toward the end of it.
Well, I don't know where it's going to fit in the program, but the Soviets are going to do a group number, and the United States team is going to do a group number, so that'll be kind of fun. You'll see, you don't see that in competition at all. One
of the things you don't see very much is figure skating in the summertime.
That's very true. The summertime is really when a skater really works on, you know, a new element of their program and makes up maybe a new routine for the competition of the next season. So this is a real off times, but they usually do a lot of exhibitions in the summer, and I think it's good for them to have more opportunities to perform, because then they get used to, you know, being in front of the crowd. And, you know, part of the difficulty of competing in competition is the nerves. I mean, you can get some of the best athletes out there skating in practice, but whether they can really do it when the pressure's on is the real ultimate line. So I mean, they will be relaxed, but still, you know, I think they're still, you know, playing out being in front of the crowd and the pressure of a performance that is live going back to the United States.
Okay, stick around. We'd like to talk to you a little more a little later.
Thank you.
Marianne Laughlin, we have more events going on.
We have cycling to talk about, and probably the best known and most successful of the current generation of U.S. cyclists is 26-year-old Mark Gorski. He was the match sprint gold medalist in the 1984 Olympics. He took up cycling 13 years ago after he watched the finish of a race in Italy where some 25,000 onlookers waited in pouring rain for a 5-second sprint. Here's our Goodwill profile.
I get tired of living the life of my sport 12 months a year. And it was real refreshing to me to have a friend and a person like Mary. I just really love her a lot. She's been the most important person in my life. There we go.
We have a good 6 or 7 months out of each year that Mark doesn't have to go to work. And he spends a lot of time with us, a lot of time with Alex. And Alex really loves Mark, and Mark loves Alex.
Tomato. Tomato? Yeah. You can't.
We have our home in Indianapolis where we live. We've lived there for a couple years now. I spend time out in La Jolla training. I spend time in Colorado Springs. I travel to Europe. I wish it was different. I wish I could be at home and live at home, train at home, and compete at home, but I can't. I'm a different sprinter now than I was 4 or 5 years ago. The way I rode prior, I pretty much had to have the race go the right way for me to win. I kind of made the realization that, hey, I've got to become more powerful, more explosive, be able to explode or accelerate very quickly from a slow speed, which just added dimensions to my abilities as a sprinter that could allow me to respond more in any situation. There's 1,000 different ways you can win a sprint. About winning, I work hard at Monopoly trying to win that too. My grandparents were an immigrant family from Poland. My grandma slept on the floor of a grocery store in Chicago for a few weeks while they were finding a place to live. I mean, they sound like old corny stories, but those stories mean a lot to me. They've always had that incredible drive to succeed. Here they are. There's been a tremendous number of things and companies, endorsements, and other associations that I've gotten involved in. Victoria Shoes was one of my things here locally in San Diego area. And very honestly, I think I would feel limited as a person if I only trained and competed right now.
What are these little markings here?
The best thing that I can do for Alex is what I have in myself, that is the desire to do well and hopefully retain discipline and, you know, good common sense while doing that. I don't care if that's in cycling or soccer or basketball or in business or if he wants to play the piano, just to be the best at whatever he wants to do.
This is the final day of cycling competition from the Olympic Velodrome at Krylatskaya. Over the past 4 days, we've seen 3 world records fall here. One in the 200-meter flying start set by Erika Sumlea of the Soviet Union. Another in the 200-meter flying start set by Mikhail Hubner of East Germany. And the powerful Soviet 4K pursuit team. So on this last day, we have the men's sprints. Semifinals and final competitions. In the semifinals, it will be East Germany's Mikhail Hubner. And remember, he set the world record earlier in the 200-meter flying start against Mark Gorski of the United States. Then the world champion, Lutz Hesslich of East Germany, against Australia's Gary Naiwan. It is best 2 out of 3. They will run 2 out of 3 heats. The winners will advance to the competition for the gold medal. The losers will vie for the bronze. Jonathan, elaborate a little bit on the strategy in the sprints here, if you would.
Now, these last semifinals and finals are going to be a very, very tactical races. You're going to see many things you might not understand at first. The track stances, riders who don't go anywhere, they're not moving at all. That means that one rider does not want to ride in front, and he wants to ride in the rear, just because he feels that that is his advantage.
Explain, if you would, why a rider feels that going into that last lap or so, you really don't want to be leading.
Well, a lot of times you want to see your opponent. If you're in front, of course, you can't see him. You want to see his moves, and you want to be able to make a move if the guy, for some reason, the rider in front of him, is looking another way. He wants to be able to surprise him if he can. You also see riders, they're just jockeying around. They want to try to out-psych the other rider. It's really very interesting, fascinating. The whole psychological thing behind the sprints is really phenomenal.
It's a chess game, pure strategy, and then 200 meters in an all-out sprint. This is the second heat. The men's sprints semifinals out on the track right now for East Germany, leading Mark Gorski. That's Michael Hübner. And of course, Gorski from the United States lost the first heat to Hübner. Hübner ran the last 200 meters in a time of 10:54. He can fly.
He certainly can fly, and Gorski's really cagey right now. He's got to win this in order to do another heat. If he loses this, he is out of the finals.
It is best 2 out of 3 heats. The winners will advance to the finals and vie for the gold medal, while the losers gun for the bronze. We're into the bell lap. Michael Hübner of East Germany,
now,
leading Mark Gorski.
Now, Gorski is in the rear this time. The first heat, Gorski had to take the front because he pulled for the front position.
You draw straws or draw numbers on a ball to get your assign. Here comes Gorski now, chasing Michael Hübner.
Hübner's holding him
off.
Here
they come. They're in the last 200 meters. Hübner. Here comes Mark Gorski. Mark Gorski. Can he catch him? No. Michael Hübner wins 2 straight heats. He will advance to the finals in the men's sprint. 11:15. Ran it slow. The strategy continues in the semifinal heats in the men's sprint. Lutz Hesslich and Gary Nijwand. Hesslich of East Germany, Nijwand of Australia.
Now, in the first heat, Gary Nijwand pulls the pole line, which means that he had to lead the first heat. And then you saw here him doing a track stance. He wanted to stay in the back. He's trying to psych out his opponent. Now he's in front, trying to sort of play with him.
Lutz Hesslich, an absolutely amazing sprinter. He was first at the World Championships in 1983 and 85. He has run the fastest time here at the Goodwill Games, 10.294.
Now Nijwand plays with him again. He went in front, then he did another track stance. He forced Hesslich to go in front. He's got to play a game of tactics if he's going to win this race. Hesslich is faster than him, and he's just trying to psych him out.
And it is a must-win situation for Australia's Gary Nijwand. Hesslich won the first heat. 11:25 was his time. It's best 2 out of 3 as they head to the bell lap. There you see Australia's Gary Nijwand looking over his shoulder at Lutz Hesslich, the world champion.
Now he's in front again. He's going to do a track stand. No, he's not going to do a track stand. He's going to keep going. 300 meters to go.
Hesslich and Nijwand. Hesslich stalking his prey. Gary Nijwand out in front.
He's going for it. He's starting to go. There he goes.
Drops down the wall. Hesslich gives chase. There they hit it. 200 meters to go. It is Nijwand of Australia. Hesslich chasing him. Gary Nijwand still holding on out in front, but here comes Lutz Hesslich. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why that man is the world champion. Lutz Hesslich advances to the finals, where he will meet his countryman, Michael Hübner, and it should be an absolutely amazing duel for the gold medal.
This is true.
And now the crowd here at the Olympic Velodrome is being treated to something a little bit special. Out on the track, that is Switzerland's Barbara Gantz, who earlier won the gold medal in the women's 3K pursuit. It's 9 laps around the track. Now she is running on the track alone, trying to crack the world record of 3:49 and 646 thousandths of a second, held by Jenny Longo. It has stood up since November 17th, 1984.
Now Barbara looks very good. Yesterday she already bettered the world record by 68 100ths of a second.
Bettered the world record time.
World record time, yes. Her first 3 splits were better. She's better than even yesterday. Now she's going into her last lap, 3:25.38. It looks like she is going to lower that world record again.
Barbara Gantz of Switzerland, to the cheers of the big crowd here at the Olympic Velodrome, gunning to break 3:49.646.
3:43. It looks like she's doing it. She's in her last sprint. She's looking good. She's got to break it.
Barbara Gantz.
No.
3:50.40. She fell just short of the attempt to crack the world record. Had she done it, it would have been unofficially a new world indoor record.
Peggy Fleming for being with us on our late night show. For Marianne Laughlin, this is Bob Neal. Das Badanya from Moscow.